So the pasuk says, and Chazal learned from the pasuk Kimu v'Kibla Yehudim that we re-accepted the Torah that was accepted in Har Sinai. We re-accepted the Torah. What does it mean that we re-accepted the Torah? So the commentaries explain, the Medrash explains that we re-accepted the oral law, Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law, Mishnah, Gemara. That's what we accepted on Purim. Why was the miracle of Purim? How did the miracle of Purim enable us, and why were we so happy with Simcha? Rashi says with love to re-accept the oral law more than the written law. To answer all these questions, we're going to go into some deeper concepts, but it'll explain you exactly what Purim is about. What is the purpose of creation? Why did God create the world? The purpose of creation is that Hashem wants this whole world to accept His kingship and His sovereignty, so that His malchus, Hashem's kingship in the world, should spread, as we say every morning in davening and Tehillim, Malchuscha, Malchus Kol Olamim. Hashem's malchus, His kingship spreads in all the world. On Rosh Hashanah we say in davening, Umalchusai Bakoil Mashal. Hashem controls everything. Hashem, the purpose of creation is that the world should recognize that Hashem is the king. He is in control. There's no other power. He is the power. He is the king. And there's nothing else. There's no other control in the world. That's the purpose of creation. And that's why you see by a Jewish king, there's a halacha that a Jewish king is not allowed to forgive on somebody who slights his pride. A father is allowed to forgive a son who slights his pride. A rabbi is allowed to forgive his Talmud. But the only one that's not allowed to forgive, if you slight the covenant of a king, you have to be put to death. Thank you, Zach. You have to be put to death. Why is it so severe? Well, the answer is, what does a Jewish king represent? A Jewish king represents Hashem's malchus. It's not his malchus, it's Hashem's malchus. And Hashem's malchus is not for you to give up on. The purpose of the world is that the world should recognize that Hashem is the only power. Now, what do I mean and what am I saying? People think that this world is a world of nature. Nature takes its course. What does it really mean down here to bring Hashem's malchus down here to this world? It means where it's revealed that nature is also from Hashem. In the same way as a miracle is from God, nature is also from God. There's no such thing as the powers of nature. There's no such thing as nature takes its course. If a person believes in nature, he is rebelling in Hashem's malchus. The purpose of our being here in this world is to understand and to reveal that Hashem is in total control and there's no such thing as nature. And the Ramban talks about this at the end of Parshas Boy. When the Ramban writes that a person who believes that nature is nature, he's denying in Hashem. Hashem's malchus is revealed when it's revealed that there's no nature. It's all miracle. It's the same thing. It's all under Hashem's control and soul control. What was the miracle of all miracles in our history? The miracle of all miracles was the splitting of the sea, the Yam Suf. The Yam Suf, the sea split. Every water split. Everybody was having a drink of water, the glass of water, the water in the glass split in half. It was the miracle of all miracles. The pasuk there says in Parshas B'Shalach that when Yosha v'Sa'am le'isanoi, it says that the land, that the sea returned, and the rabbis learn out, returned to its condition. God made a condition when He created the sea in the days of creation. Hashem made a condition with the sea when He created the sea, that when the Jews need to cross, you're going to split. And that was inbuilt. When Hashem created the water, that was a condition that was inbuilt in the water, that you are to split when the Jews need to cross. Why did Hashem need to inbuild that into nature? Build that into creation? There's been thousands of miracles over the ages. And only by this miracle of all miracles we see that Hashem said this miracle is inbuilt in Teva. It's inbuilt in creation, the creation of the world. But the answer is because here Hashem wants to show that the miracles of all miracles is built into the world. It's built into creation. It's built into nature. Because there's no nature. The miracle of all miracles is built into nature. That means there's no nature. It's all miracles. And this reveals Hashem's malchus. And that's why the shira that we sing every morning in davening, the shira really ends with the pasuk. Hashem Yimloich Loilam Voed. Hashem's Malchus. By the Yam Suf, when the sea split, it was revealed Hashem's Malchus. It was revealed that there's no nature. It was revealed that this massive miracle was inbuilt in nature from the beginning. And that's why we mention numerous times the Beis HaMikdash in the Shir Sayam. What's the connection? One pasuk in the Shir of the Yam Suf. Mikdash Hashem koinen Yudecha. We speak about the Mikdash, the Beis HaMikdash of Hashem. Another pasuk. Nehalta va'azocha al nevei kodshecha. Hashem is going to take us to his beautiful palace, to his abode, to the Beis HaMikdash. Look at the Targum on the pasuk Zeh Keli Maveyo. I'm going to build you a Beis HaMikdash. 3 times the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, is mentioned in the Shir Sayam. What's the Beis HaMikdash going to do with splitting the sea? What's the Beis HaMikdash going to do with crossing the sea? But the answer is, what did the Beis HaMikdash show us? The Mishnah says in Avos, there were 10 miracles that were constantly going on in the Beis HaMikdash. 10 miracles, 10 constant miracles. You should be buzzing me. What does it mean, a constant miracle? A constant miracle is a self-contradictory statement. What is the idea of a miracle? It's a one-off. Hashem makes a miracle, you cross the sea, Hashem makes a miracle, the blood came, the frogs came, and that's it, it goes away. What does a constant miracle mean? A constant. What's constant? Nature's constant. Nature's constant. Every evening the sun goes down, every morning the sun rises. Nature is constant. Constant miracles in the Beis HaMikdash was the Beis HaMikdash showed that there's no difference between a miracle and nature. Constant miracles means that the nature was miracle. And the nature of miracle means that there's no nature, there's no miracle. It's all miracles. The Beis HaMikdash was the place where you saw that the constant daily, minutely, secondly running of this world is one big miracle. And that's why they brought their first fruits to the Beis HaMikdash. What is the mitzvah of bringing the first fruits to the Beis HaMikdash? What is the Hebrew word for the first fruits that they brought to the Beis HaMikdash? Beautiful. Bikurim. The beginning of Parshas Kisavai, there's a parasha Bikurim. When they brought their first fruits to the Beis HaMikdash, there was a whole kriya, a whole reading of the Torah that they had to say. And what's that? Hashem, you've always been so kind to us. Hashem, you took us out of Egypt. Hashem, you made these most unbelievable miracles to the Egyptians. And Hashem, you took us into Eretz Yisrael. And Hashem, you gave me these fruits. Thank you for the fruits. What are you saying it all in one sentence? You're saying that Hashem made blood and frogs and hailstorms and fire and water and splitting the sea and apples and not apples, the 7 species, and pomegranates and grapes. What's going on over here? You know what's going on over here? A person who brings Bikurim is announcing to Hashem and he's saying, in my eyes, this miracle that I'm bringing you a basket of pomegranates and grapes is the same identical miracle as the sea splitting and frogs and lice and who knows what. It's all part of one thing. It's all part of Hashem's miracle. The fact that there's fruits growing, it's all part of Hashem's miracle. That's Malchus. That's recognizing Hashem's sovereignty as Malchus on this world. And that's why, by the way, the word Bikurim is the same word as Bechor. And Rashi says in V'zois HaBrocha that Bechor is the Lashon of Malchus. When you bring Bikurim and you say what you have to say, you're revealing God's Malchus. You're showing that it's only Hashem's control. There's nothing else outside of Hashem's control. There's no powers of nature that's a sheker. And that's why you bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. Because we just said the Beis HaMikdash was the place of constant miracles. The Beis HaMikdash was a place where you saw that nature is a miracle. So you bring your Bikurim and you announce that my pomegranates and the splitting of the sea and blood and frogs, it's all the same miracle. That's revealing the Malchus of Hashem in this world. This is something that we have to go on and on because we'll see when we talk about it practically, about working and about it. It branches into many different avenues. But that is really what the Yesod, the fundamental emunah in Hashem is, and what we're doing here in this world, to prove that, to show the world that. And that's why Kriyat Shema. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is the mitzvah of Malchus. It's the mitzvah, when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, you have to have kavanah that Hashem is the king. You have to accept Hashem's Malchus in the world. And what do you say further on in Kriyat Shema? V'asafta deganecha, gather your crop. The field, go out and work. The Gemara says, go out and work in your field. What's that got to do with proclaiming Hashem King of the world? A few psukim ago, you said, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, you are the sole king. Your sovereignty is the sole sovereignty in the whole world. Go out in the field and work. What's the connection? The connection is when you go out in the field to work, and it doesn't matter if you're going out to the field, or if you're going to your law firm, or you're going wherever. You have to reveal Hashem's Malchus. You have to reveal that it's all a miracle. You have to reveal that your Parnasa is a miracle. Chazal compare Parnasa to the splitting of the sea. It's all the same miracle. Don't think you're so smart. There's plenty of smart people that have no Parnasa. It's all a miracle. So Shema is Malchus Shemayim. What's Malchus Shemayim? Proving that nature is a miracle. Vasafta Deganecha, proving that everything that goes on in the world is all in Hashem's control. And that's why it was King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, he built the Beis HaMikdash. You all know that Shlomo HaMelech he wrote a few Megillah, he wrote a few Svarim. One of them is called Mishlei, right? What's Mishlei in English? Proverbs? Good. Proverbs. I learned something in Aish. Mishlei means everything is a mashal. Everything is a mashal. Everything is a parable. Shlomo HaMelech succeeded in proving that the understanding and explaining, he explained to the whole world how the powers of nature and everything that go on in this world is all Chachma Leki, is all Hashem's Chachma. Everything in this world is a mashal. Everything in this world is a parable to something higher. There's nothing in this world that it is in this world. Everything in this world is just a mashal. It's a parable to something that's higher. Shlomo HaMelech proved that the powers of nature are all coming from Hashem. He used the Torah to prove the powers of nature and how it's all coming from Hashem. He, with his unbelievable wisdom, could prove the Chachmas HaTeva in Chachma Leki. He could show you how the Chachma of Torah is what explains how Teva is all coming from Hashem. And that's why he was the one that built the Beis HaMikdash, because that is exactly what the Beis HaMikdash is all about. This is such an important concept, so important. Those of you who are Svarim over here might have seen in your Sidurim, there's a Patach Eliyahu. You heard of it? Yeah? Good. Baruch Hashem, at least some of you have. But it's in a lot of Sidurim. It's a piece from Tikkun Zohar from Eliyahu Hanavi. But whatever, we're just going to quote a few words. He says there, Malchus, Torah Shebal Peh. Oral law is Malchus. Torah Shebal Peh represents Malchus. How does Torah Shebal Peh represent Hashem's Malchus? Well, what is the first Seder? What is the first book of Mishnah is called? Louder. Zeraim. What does Zeraim discuss? Agriculture. What is the first tractate of Zeraim? Brachas. What does the brachas begin, the first mitzvah? Kriyas Shema. That's right, Kriyas Shema. What's Kriyas Shema? We just said Hashem's Malchus. What do you say in Kriyas Shema? Nature. What is Zeraim talking about? Agriculture, planting, nature. Rashi says that when a person, there's a pasuk that says, Zeraim is emunah. Agriculture is emunah, belief. What's agriculture got to do with emunah? The answer is because when you put the plant in, you plant the seed in the ground. If it doesn't rain, is anything going to grow? No. If it rains, will it grow? Yeah, Mertz Hashem. Who makes it rain? Hashem. Who's controlling nature? Hashem. What's the Seder Zeraim all about? Recognizing that Hashem controls nature. And that's why it begins with Mesachas Brachas. Recognize that the pomegranate, the bread, the wheat, the barley, anything you're holding is all from Hashem. That's what Seder Zeraim is. And that's why the last Masechta, last tractate in Seder Zeraim is Bikurim. Because we just said before, Bikurim just speaks out, just that. Hashem, there was a Kriyas Yamsuf and there's a pomegranate in my basket. It's all the same. That's Malchus. That is Malchus. Zeraim, Malchus is Peh, Torah Shebal Peh. The oral law is the Torah from down here. The written law, Torah Shebiksav, is the Torah of Shemayim. The oral law is the Torah down here. It's the Zeraim Torah. It's the Torah down here. It's the Torah that we from down here darshan. But it's all coming from up there. You know, the Or Chaim HaKadosh, he says that the difference between the written law and the oral law is the written law is rain, and the oral law is the dew that comes down. What's the difference between the rain and the dew? Do you know what the difference is? When you wake up in the morning and you walk on the grass, it's all wet. Does it seem to you that that dew came from heaven? No. When you watch it raining, you can see it's coming down from up there. The dew also comes from up there. But you wake up in the morning, it's down here on the ground. The dew represents something that looks like it's from the ground, but really it's from Hashem. That's the oral law. That's Zron. That is Malchus. The whole concept of Malchus is no nature, it's all Hashem. He's the only one in control. Okay, we could go on this, but this suffices. Now you're going to ask me, everybody, if I don't move on to Purim, what's this got to do with Purim? But the answer is, this is the whole avodah of Purim. What was Achashverosh? Achashverosh was a king, a powerful king, a king over the whole world. What is the klippa? What is the denial of Achashverosh? Achashverosh is the king that believes that he is the king. He is the man. He makes the feast to show that he is the ruler. He is in control. He is in control. A Jewish king believes that he's less in control than anybody else in the country. He is a transparent expression, a manifestation of Hashem's Malchus. And Achashverosh represents the idea where the Goyim feel that their Malchus is there in control. It's their control. It's their control. They are the Melech, and it's their control. And that's why the one story you see from the whole Megillah is that there's one man in the whole story who's totally not in control. And his name is Achashverosh. He got angry. And eventually killed his wife. Did he have real choice in doing that? Of course not. He got so depressed afterwards that he killed all the ministers that told him to kill his wife. And this happens and that happens. And then he sends out his royal clothes and his royal horse with a crown to put on Mordechai Tzaddik. He is a puppet. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Doesn't know what he's doing. He's a king, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a king, and he's completely controlled by Hashem. When it says Melech in the Megillah, Pashat Pshat, it means Achashverosh. Deeper, who is it referring to? Exactly. So what is the whole story of whole Megillah Esther? To show that you can have somebody in this world who is the king of the world, and he is the least in control of himself and the least in control of anybody else. Whenever it says Melech, it just means Hashem. And that is why everybody asks, there were such great miracles in the Purim story, but they were all hidden in nature. There's no frogs in the Purim story. No lice, no frogs, and no hailstones. But the whole story of Purim is one great miracle. But it's a miracle that's hidden in the Teva. Do you know why? Because that is the story of Purim. To see Hashem within the Teva. To see that there's only Hashem. There's no coincidence. It's all Hashem. So when it says Melech, you idiot, Achashverosh. You idiot. You think that you're in control? You're a puppet more than anybody else. The Pasuk says, Leiv Melachim V'sarim B'yad Hashem. And Malchus means where you see Hashem in nature. So all the miracles of Purim are all within nature. To show you that there's no such thing as nature. Achashverosh wanted the Jews to believe that he's in control. And he wore the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. And they used the kelim, the vessels from the Beis HaMikdash. Because the Beis HaMikdash was the place, as we mentioned earlier, at such great length. We mentioned earlier that the Beis HaMikdash was a place where you could see that nature is really one big, excellent, one big miracle. As we mentioned earlier. Achashverosh wanted to take that for himself. He wanted to take that for himself. And he wanted to say, I am the king, I am the... Whatever you thought in the Beis HaMikdash that it's Hashem, now it's me. So Hashem says, you idiot. I'm going to show, and you're going to do so many things that are out of your control. You're going to do so many things that you yourself don't understand what you're doing to show that you're not in control. If you want to call yourself a melech, then you have to become a transparent manifestation of Hashem's malchus in the world, because he is the melech and the only melech. And therefore, every time it says melech, it means Hashem. And that's why he took Haman and Amalek to help him. The Pasuk says, we read it yesterday, you all read it yesterday, you all heard it. Asher korcha baderech, about in the parish of Amalek. Asher korcha baderech. Korcha is a lashon mikra. Mikra means coincidence. Amalek makes us think. Is really Hashem with us? Is Hashem not with us? Is Hashem in control down here? We know he's in control up there. Is he really in control up here? Is he not in control up here? Down here? And the end of Peshalach, the Jews ask these questions. Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu, is Hashem amongst us? Meaning, is Hashem in control? What's going on down here? And the next words are Vayovay Amalek. If you start asking these questions, if you think that you're in control, if you think that you're smart and you're enterprising and you're charming, and that's why you're a millionaire, you're playing into the hands of Amalek. There's a lot of things in this world that look like nature, but we have to realize that it's totally in control of Hashem. And that's not a difficult thing for us to digest and internalize. It's a beautiful thing for us to digest and internalize, because it shows how well we looked after. It shows how well we looked after. It shows how Hashem is running and controlling. And if you throw yourself in Hashem's hands, Hashlech al Hashem Yehavcha, throw yourself at Hashem, and He'll feed you. The story, the simcha of Purim is to know that we can rely on Hashem, we can rely on the Almighty power. When a person feels that he has got his own impact, then he can't have simcha, because he's always nervous. Is he doing too much? Is he not doing enough? Should he change? Should he do this? Should he do the other? He can never feel tranquil. He can never feel menucha in his life, because he thinks that he is doing. When you realize that Hashem is in control, totally in control, there's no coincidence. Amalek brings mikra into the world. There's no coincidence. That is proclaiming Hashem Melech in the world. That is the avodah of Purim, proclaiming Hashem the Melech of the world. If you want to go even deeper, for some of you that have delved into slightly deeper Torah, we know that when Amalek is around, the Vav K of the Yud K Vav K is hidden. The pasuk says at the end of Beshalach, Ki Yod al Kes Kad. There's only the Yud K, not the Vav K. What does the Vav K represent, to make it simple? The letter Vav is Hashem's Hanhaga, Hashem's control in this world. The last Hey of the Yud K Vav K, the second Hey, represents Malchus, Hashem's Malchus. The Vav K is revealing Hashem is in control down here in this world, that's the Vav, and the Hey is that's Hashem's Malchus. Hashem's Malchus means that when you reveal Hashem down here in this world, then you are making a union that's called a Yichud between the Vav and the Hey. That is the avodah of Purim. That's the avodah of Purim. To realize no nature. To realize we are totally in the hands of Hashem. And that's what happens when you get drunk. When you get drunk, you just feel, you just feel, Adelo Yoda. It's not my mind. I'm out of my mind. I'm beyond my mind. I can't make decisions now. I'm all in the hands of Hashem. The beautiful feeling when a person gets drunk, he realizes he reaches the stage of Adelo Yoda. He doesn't know what he's doing. Nor did Achashverosh know what he was doing. But he fooled himself into thinking he knows what he's doing. We just put ourselves into the hands of Hashem. And we tell Hashem, even when we're sober, we're just following you. We're just following you. Before we make a decision, we go downstairs to the kotel and we say, Hashem, it's all you. So please give me the siyata d'shmaya to make the right decision. When you go out to work and you're choosing a career for yourselves, so daven to Hashem and say, Hashem, help me make the right decision. Hashem, I want to be with you. Hashem, I'm not going to choose a career. I'm not going to choose a job that's going to keep me away, that's going to tear me away from you, that's going to make me work too hard, that's not going to give me enough time to connect to you. Hashem, I want to connect to you even when I'm working. And that is Malchus Shemayim. That is Malchus Shemayim. A person who lives his life, not just inside the Beis HaMedrash, but he lives his life of seeing Hashem and feeling Hashem and bringing Hashem into every element of his life. That is real Malchus. That is the real proclamation that Hashem is the Melech HaOlam. And you know, it sounds funny, but sometimes when a person goes out to work and he lives his life, not just in accordance of halacha, but he lives his life with Hashem all the time, in a way, he is proclaiming Hashem, the Melech, more than somebody else that's learning inside the Beis HaMedrash. Because inside the Beis HaMedrash is Hashem's abode. Outside the Beis HaMedrash is our avodah to make that part of Hashem's Malchus. And that's the story of Purim. That's the story of Purim. That's why on Purim we asked before, why the oral law? Why do we dafka accept upon ourselves Torah Sheba'al Peh after the story of Purim? Because Torah Sheba'al Peh is the story of Purim, as we just mentioned. Torah Sheba'al Peh is Zroim. Torah Sheba'al Peh is the Torah from down here. Torah Sheba'al Peh is the Torah that reveals Hashem's control and Hashem's Hanhaga down here in this world. And that's what we accept after Purim. And that's when we go through the Megillah, we see Hashem's intervention in everything that's going on in this world. The story of Purim, the story of Megillah Esther is a story that everybody goes through. There's good times, there's bad times. There's times where it seems that our enemies, our Yetzer Hara, are overwhelming, like it was in Shushan. There's times where we feel like Mordechai Tzaddik marching, galloping on the king's horse. It's the story of every Jew, Megillah Esther. But the Chachma is to see Hashem in everything that we're doing. To see Hashem's Malchus in everything that we're doing. And then we'll be Zochim et Hashem to the simcha of seeing how now we're riding HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyachal is carrying us and when you feel that you have simcha and you have tranquility, we should be Zochim et Hashem to Mechias Amalek and never ever believe, not use the word coincidence in our lives. Realize that Tevas Hashem, Nisim Hashem, every movement of ours is Hashem, and then we'll be Zochim to Mechias Amalek and the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash speedily nowadays. Mehera b'yomeinu, Amen.